Canon, what have you done? This is one of those situations. This is not a video I intended to make. It's actually like 1 o'clock on a Friday night, and the wife's gone to bed. But I've heard this rumor coming around for a while, and it's kind of been confirmed, and it's starting to really be confirmed about Canon third-party support for lenses. Now, this is going to be a touchy subject, but this really does not go over well with me. Just knowing some of the past history, I'll give you an update, kind of where I started with photography, and that was when Canon and Nikon were kind of really the only players in town, and the digital was coming into its own. You know, the big birding lenses were just not achievable. They were priced way out of my price range. You know, I'm getting there. You got a 70 to 300, and you want something like that 500-600 mil range, and there was nothing there under $2,500 to $3,000. That's just too much starting out. You know, most people don't make money starting out in photography, and if you're trying to hit them up for $3,000, so Sigma comes out with their 50 to 500, and it was like $1,000. And I remember telling a buddy, like, hey, I ordered this new lens, and he's like, $1,000? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, would you get the best one? And I'm like, no, I got the cheapest one. I literally bought the cheapest birding lens that I could get. But it's, you know, acceptable. It's not as good as the really good stuff, but it's doable. And so that was kind of the thing that Sigma, I thought, kind of understood, and Tamron and a lot of these third-party developers kind of understand. They produce a product that's maybe not as good as glass, not as sharp, not as fast and focused, but it does really well for what you're trying to achieve for the price. There's drawbacks. But the rumors that are coming out is the fact that Canon's pretty much shutting down all new third-party development for RF lenses. And they kind of want to keep everything to themselves. Now, there's going to be a lot of washing going on where they'll talk about the user experience, so they want the highest quality, and there's all this. But my dealings with Canon in the past, dealing with some of their adapters and some of their lenses and just the functions they provide, they seem to drag themselves, just drag it out and give the users not the greatest experience, but the ability to upsell them on everything. I mean, think about this, guys. It's been 20 years, and it's finally Canon's produced cameras that have essentially IBIS, in-body stabilization, when other camera manufacturers were doing it 20 years before them, like 15 years before them. So it's no surprise that some of the shenanigans that goes on with this, with the constant, like, if you want a little better camera, you got to upgrade. But this part is huge, and I think a lot of people will run into this, or might buy into Canon, and then they realize, you know, they have the 800mm f11, 600mm f11, but the R7, it becomes a different camera versus the R5. It's noisier, and in low light, it's not the greatest at f11. That is a huge issue. And I'm not a noise, like one of these guys that, you know, obsesses over noise. It just is noisier at f11 on a smaller compact sensor. So that pushes you into the 100 to 500, which is like $2,500. And there's another wildlife photographer who came on board, just put out a post on this, talking about how expensive these lenses are, and how he had to save up like a year to get this specific lens. So that kind of puts things in a position. Biotrox, I think, a third-party support person, was asking where the firmware is. Where's the firmware to upgrade the lens? And they were told by Canon to take it down, not to produce any more lenses. This is the same thing I heard from Sigma. Even, I think it's Biotrox, the company mentioned that at this point, they're not the first one who's been told by Canon to stop selling third-party supported lenses. Which then leads me to believe that with my past history, you know, it's kind of comical, because I've been called a Canon fanboy. Like, oh, and I start laughing because I look in the comments. I'm like, have you seen any of my videos? I call it out. But with this is one of those situations where, if it's the case, I have a ton of Sigma lenses. If you've ever watched my channel, if this is new to you, I have an 800mm. 300 to 800 mil, they're Sigmas. These are Sigmas. I will buy, if they're kind of comparable in price, a native lens if I can afford it or if I can purchase it. For instance, the Sony 200 to 600 is a great buy. There's a 600 150 to 600, which is $1,400, but I would suggest if you can spring the extra $600 or $500, buy the Sony native lens. But that generally doesn't happen in the industry. A lot of these lenses, because they want high quality, they want to push it $2,500, $3,000, $3,200 for these lenses, and it's just unattainable for me. Talking with, or looking at Kevin's video, Kevin Nordstrand, I think his video, I'll probably pronounce his name wrong, sorry Kevin, he's like, yeah, I had to save up a year, and there's all these other people. If you looked at the wildlife industry or the photography, prices for that has just gone down. The market has just tanked, but these prices are getting back up there, or they're starting to move into a direction that's not consumer friendly. So this kind of pushes, being that this could turn really nasty. The future of the RF mount is going to be Canon only lenses if all the rumors are true, all the sites that I'm looking at are true. And to be honest, people say, well, you have the 150 to 600 adapted Canon EF lens, but those can be turned off as well. And it's totally up to Canon whether they want to do that or not. They could totally can the lens, just say, yep, firmware, nope, don't like this, you're not a Canon native lens, you're done. Do I think they'll do that? No. I think they'll allow the older Canon EF lenses to exist, but it's kind of telling on the company as a whole what they're trying to do, and it's totally in their right. But I've done numerous Canon reviews on point and shoots, their bigger lenses, the 90D. Overall, I think they're great products, but I'm done. I'm done. If this is true, I'm gonna wait for a little while. I'm not gonna buy any more Canon gear. This stuff will be sold, and I'm just gonna move over. I'll exist with Sony or Nikon. I'll see who wants to play it. Sony has always been, if there's one thing you can talk about Sony's products, maybe they're not the best quality and it's not really a great DSLR experience or this, but I remember buying Sony stuff years ago, and it was always inventive. It's always piquing my interest for the tech. I don't feel like they held stuff back. I don't feel like they purposely kind of try to whittle me and manipulate me. And you could say maybe it wasn't as good as product, but I noticed that early on. And then if you look at their Sony E-mount, they have a ton of lenses, like these 100 to 400s, and they don't care. If you look at Adorama, look at the lens support. It's like, I think for RF it's 100 or 50 to 100 lenses, and for the Sony mount, the E-mount, it's like 400. And you look at all the third-party suppliers of that, and I can embrace that. At this point, it means nothing to me. I love third-party support, the Tamrons, the Sigmas, all these other guys, just helping people out. One of my favorite lenses is the 18 to 400 Tamron. That is just a super flexible lens. That's not even, I don't even know if it will come out. Like there's an E-mount 50 to 400 that got released on Sony. And I was kind of bummed because Sony E-mount, and I was like, oh, is Canon going to come out with that? That'd be awesome. No, it's not going to come out. Everything I'm reading, it's not. That's a very flexible lens to shoot wildlife for portraits, to like deer, maybe some medium-sized game. But if that's the choices I'm not going to get to shoot with Canon, is a nice small lens going 50 to 400 and be able to pump it up with a 1.5 crop, screw it, I'm done. So at this point, I just want to put this out there. If you're thinking about that, or if you know someone that's entry level that's going to get into this and you steer them, I don't care what brand. I mean, Pentax, Olympus, Micro Four Thirds, all this stuff's good, but I just like to see more of an open alliance for choices and not lock someone in, because I've been through this before. When I bought third party lenses, anything with like IS lens stability was another $1,200 on the same lens when it was a Canon or Nikon. And again, it was just something that I couldn't afford, but I could afford it on Sigma. And that's where I'm going. Just the presence of their mindset. If their mindset's there that they want you to be locked in and they're going to charge you hell or high water, I'm out. I can deal with less quality because it gives me choices for flexibility when I have a ton of other lenses. It's all about the lenses. It really is. Like if you have an itch, if you have a specific need, you want third-party support because native lenses, yeah, they hit the big bullet points that most people need. But man, without that, my photography would be quite different. So that's it, guys. Sorry to be a negative Nanny, negative Nelly on this, but Canon gear is probably gonna go. I will figure out where I'm gonna land next, but it's a bummer. I still got Sigma lenses, Canon EF. Sony converts over to that as well. So that's might be an issue, might be a possible position, or I might just sell the Canon EF mount lenses and do something else. But thanks again. If you like this stuff, like, subscribe. I'd really actually like to hear your thoughts on this. Maybe with enough wildlife photographers like Kevin, myself, like little influencer guys. I call them influencers. My channel's so damn small. But with that, maybe Canon will have a turnabout. Maybe they'll realize, like, yeah, this probably isn't the best for the consumers. Maybe we could use actually YouTube for some positive influence for the customers versus all this other hype. Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.